Hey everybody, this is Mrs. Laredo. I am recording a video right now to show you how to fill out your data for the ESL task force. So all you're going to do is on this uh, slide presentation, you are going to find the slide that has your name on it. So as you can see, we have one for each teacher. This is Miss Bullard's. This is Miss Bright's. One for each teacher. I'm going to go down to my slide that I've already completed. So all I did to come up with this data right here, and this is your first step, you need to fill out your table of data. And if you notice on the other slides, there are more options here, and it's just dependent on which students you are looking at and how you want to separate them out. You can remove or add designations here as needed. So on mine, I just have all students, my general education students, and my ELLs separated out. So I also have SPED students, but I removed them from this data as I was not going to be addressing their needs for this particular project. Doesn't mean I'm not addressing these needs in other places. I'm just not tracking that data and submitting it for this particular ESL task force. So what I did to get this data is that I had to first choose a assessment or a data point that I wanted to use. So I chose to use the district's first 9 weeks reading assessment that the district required us to give to our English 2 students. Now, all I did to grab the data on this, because I know that we used to use Eduphoria a lot for this, but we're not really using that anymore, at least not this year. All I did to grab this data is that I went into the grade book because I had put in their score from this reading assessment as a grade in the grade book. So when you go into the grade book, into Teacher Access Center, and I would show it to you in a video right here, like I am the slide, but I'm afraid that I'll wind up accidentally showing you student information that is considered private. So if my oral explanation does not make sense to you, please let me know and I can come and show you exactly how to do this. But all you're going to do is you're going to go into the gradebook and you're going to have to make sure that you change it to the R1 gradebook because it's already switched over to R2 because that assessment or data point you're using is probably from the first 9 weeks. So you're going to go into the gradebook and then you're going to go to the same place you would go to if you were proofing grades. If you were proofing grades, you're going to go into the grade book and you're going to go to the little drop down menu that gives you the option for the student averages report that you would do for grade proofing. But instead of student averages, you are going to select printable grade book. Again, that's printable grade book. And you will run that report. Once you run the report, in the little pop-up box, there is a little green and white button at the top right of that little pop-up box, and that is the export to Excel button. It doesn't say export to Excel, it's just a little green and white button. You're going to click on that little green and white Excel button, and it's going to export your printable gradebook into Excel. So once I did that, I just went through and I deleted all of the information that I didn't need. I made sure I added one column for all of my students to designate them as general education, ELL, or SPED students. So all I wound up with on this report was the student name, their designation as ELL, Gen Ed, or SPED, and their score for this particular reading assessment. From there, it's really easy. All you have to do is come up with a few averages. So you would look at you would sort by Gen Ed students and come up with their average for that. Sort by ELLs and come up with your average for that. Now, once you're there, in order to figure out this information, the does not meet, meets, or masters information, that is something that you are going to set. So for my students, I chose anything below a 60, so 0 to 59 would be in the does not meet category. 60 to 79 would be meets, and then 80 or above would be masters. So those numbers may be different for you guys depending on what you think is fair for does not meet, meets, and masters. The only key here is that you're going to have to keep those designations the same throughout the project, because if you change them, you're going to have to go back and change your data in order to make sure that it reflects correct data and not biased or incorrect data, because these designations have changed. So again, what I chose for does not meet is 59 and below. Meets was 60 to 79, and masters was 80 or above. So once I did that, I compiled all my data. I even added this option here for students who did not complete the assessment. I felt like that was important information. I put the number of each student, the percent for their average score here. So my ELL's average was a 63. The general education students average was a 76, and the average score for all students was a 72. So just put in all of your data here, and then over here on the right you're going to see some options for some sentence stems. Again, you can change these, delete them, add them as you see fit. Okay, so I used 3. There is a 16% increase of students who did not complete the exam between general education students and ELLs. I felt like this was a pretty big number of amount of students who did not complete the assessment, especially knowing how few ELLs I actually have. If you see over here, I only have 31, and 16% of them didn't even attempt the exam. So that's a pretty big number. All right, then there is a 33% increase in the category of does not meet standard between general education students and ELLs. So that's here, does not meet standard. General education, only 7% did not meet standard, but 40% of my ELLs did not meet standard. Again, that's a really big increase. That's a really big learning gap between my general education students and my ELLs. And then there is a 23% decrease in the category of meets grade level between ELLs and general education students. So that's here under meets category. General education is 43% met, and only 20% of my ELLs met standard for this particular assessment. So after you're done with all of this, then you're going to go down here and you're going to make some plans. In an effort to close the gaps between ELLs and general education students in the category of participation, I will connect with virtual ELL students and families weekly via phone call or Google Meet, and I will personally invite all virtual ELLs to attend weekly tutorials or live hybrid classes. So this is something that I'm choosing to do for my students. That does not mean that you have to choose to do this. This is something that I'm committing to for my students. The really nice thing about this committee is that you get to choose what you're going to do for your students. So if you feel like this is not something that would work for your students or it wouldn't work for your schedule, that's totally fine. You need to choose something that you can do, that you probably already know how to do, and you're going to make an effort to do that for your ELL students in order to close some of these gaps. Another thing I'm going to do is, in an effort to close the gaps between general education students and ELLs in both the does not meet standard category and meets standard category, I will do small group instruction based on student language proficiency. So you're actually going to see this in a training sometime very soon, that there is a form that you can fill out that has some scaffolds and accommodations and interventions already listed for ELL students. And it is separated out by student language proficiency, and it's like a worksheet basically that helps you um, to create small groups that are based on the student language proficiency, so it can make it easier for you to do this in an effective manner. So I will show you that later, but this is again something that I have chosen to do for my students that I feel like I can do. So this is what I'm going to try. And then, in an effort to monitor the effectiveness of these interventions, I'm going to track participation and assessment data for each individual student. So I'm going to create a Google Sheet that lists out all of my ELL students, and I am going to track their participation and their individual assessment data to see if this is working or not. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I can help you to compile your data. I can help you to create your plan. I'm going to send out a list of possible interventions that are research-based that you can choose from, or you can choose to create your own. Just make sure that it is based in research and that you're not just coming up with this stuff on your own. But it does need to be based in research and preventive and effective for somebody. And this is just you trying to implement that in your class with your students now. So again, please let me know how I can help you. I'm here to help. I appreciate everything that you guys do and how much effort and time you are putting into doing this for your students. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this helps our ELL students.